Hey, Salome B here, and I want to talk about Kanye West's um, current remarks about slavery was a choice. That is a theory that's been put out for a while that slavery is a choice, and a lot of people say it's a theory. Some people believe that slavery should be a part of some societies. Um, so that's a theory. I'm pretty sure Kanye West is reading something that has that theory in it. Um, Now, a lot of people are saying slavery was for 400 years. Like, do we have a verification of something that says slavery was 400 years? Because when you look at American history with Lincoln, Lincoln was in office, I believe, when slavery was taking place. And I could have swore slavery was from 1863 to 1865. Uh, Somebody gotta come out with a exact date. That's not 400 years. So we need to really get a hold on Black history. We need to get into it, read it, and find out where the 400-year part come from, because I've never seen um, slavery being 400 years. I didn't even remember that being taught to me when I was in middle school. I've never heard slavery was 400 years. I've read when Lincoln was in office and they started passing slave law. Slavery was from 1863 to 1865. So I would like to know where everybody's getting the 400-year part so I can go look that up, because the United States history has a history of when slavery started. So I just need to know that part, because a lot of the stories told about slavery, it doesn't add up. Like, if you have a million people on a boat and it's only a few of y'all and you overtake the million, something's not right. Something's not right. How do 1 million people get taken off one side of the country and transported to another side of the country? And the Titanic couldn't even do all that. So we got to look through some of this and make sense of it, because some of it does not make sense to me. Like 400 years, I've never learned that in school. And the school system in Virginia, they taught about slavery, but it wasn't 400 years. It was 1863 to 1865. So, Kanye West feels that slavery was a choice. I think he needs to reevaluate the whole concept and history of slavery and what he's learned, and then he needs to compare it with President Lincoln's whole office and job in the United States, and to make it a United States of America, because Lincoln was in office when slavery was happening. And there's a book called Slavery in Virginia, and that was the start of when slaves were being transported from one place, and they were being transferred in Virginia. and it wasn't a 400-year thing. So, that's something we got to get some clarification on about slavery. Now, I think the 400-year part might be coming from the Bible. I think that's where that's coming from. I'm not really sure, but I've never seen it in United States history as blacks being in slavery for 400 years. So, if somebody could verify that, because what I'm having a problem with is with the black community is when we communicate is hearsay, and hearsay in court cannot be trusted, but nowadays it is. Since the Bill Cosby case and guilty verdict, that tells you that assumptions and um, hearsay is more important than the truth. Hearsay is not important, and it's not the truth. It needs to be found. There has to be some evidence to prove that that's true. It cannot be hearsay, and hearsay is just something another person overheard someone else saying, and they're speaking to you about it. That's not the truth, because you're not the one that talked to the person. So we're a nation of hearsayers. He said, she said stuff. This is how we communicate, and that alone can create an atmosphere of confusion and miscommunication. So Kanye West, when he's on the money, when he's talking about free thought, free thinking, I'm all with that. But the whole thing of slavery needs to be reevaluated itself, because history does not say slavery was 400 years. When you're talking about the Emancipation Proclamation and all that, that was in the 1800s. And slavery started 1863 to 1865. That's not 400 years. So where are we getting the number 400 in the first place? So that's where I'm coming from with it. As far as slavery being a choice, I don't agree with that, because people were killed and forced, and people died trying to free themselves and free others. So that can't be a choice. That's just the people that's under attack. So I don't believe that slavery is a choice. I just have an issue with the 400 years, because the making of the United States of America, when slavery was going on, it was in America, it was a new thing, and Virginia could not figure out what it was and why it was happening. They had to kind of study it, and then they had to do certain things to stop it, because there were people literally going into state courts and claiming a black person as property. So they were actually doing civil lawsuits on other people for human chattel, which were black people at the time. They would go down to the court and sue for this black person, or they would claim that black person as if it was a car or some property. So when he says slavery is a choice, no. When the court systems get involved and lawyers and cops, it is no longer a choice. You're enforced. It's a law. It's enforced. So That's where I'm with, all this Kanye West stuff. I do believe he read that theory because there's a theory out that slavery was a choice. That's a theory that's been written by somebody. It's some philosophy somebody just written up because that's a theory. That's a theory that's been out for ages that slavery was a choice. So he's done read something with this thought, and it just something he's interested in. But people getting outraged and want to make him be quiet and acting all insane. And I'm looking like freedom of speech is freedom of speech. People don't understand. Freedom of speech is freedom of speech. If you think about that, okay, we hear like the girl at Alabama University or whatever, she was saying the word nigga. She got kicked out of college, but that's not going to stop her from saying the word nigger because it's freedom of speech. Anybody can say it. Black people can say cracker. That's offensive to other people, but they have a right to say it even though it's offensive. That's the downside of freedom of speech. So I'm not all for shutting people down because they say something that I don't agree with, because I believe in karma. Karma comes in all shapes, forms, and sizes. It doesn't discriminate. And if you use your words wrongly, it'll come back to bite you in the ass anyway. And you're going to have to deal with the things that you say. Now, the stuff that Kanye West is saying, it's just Kanye has gotten hold to some information. And that information is that theory that slavery was a choice. That's a modern theory right now. And it's been out for a while. It's been out for a long time because these are people that wrote about the justification of slavery. They wrote about it. They actually thought about it, analyzed it, and said that slavery is needed in some countries. Slavery is used in the prison system. So, there are a large number of black people in the prison system, and most people that I've known that talk to me about prison. When you get a job in the prison, you actually working for somebody's company. You're making somebody's shoes, or Bob Barker had a fortune off of prison money. So Kanye West is reading something with the theory of slavery, the justification of slavery, because that theory's been out for a long time. So he's just saying out his mouth what he's been studying, what he's been learning, because Kanye West is talking much better. He's not as angry as he used to be, and reading will do that to you. Because reading changes your mind. Reading also is a thought process. So I feel that he's just started learning something and he wants people to know. He wants to proclaim it. He wants to express it. And he doesn't understand the environment that he's in. You can't express anything when you're around a highly infested, ignorant society. Highly infested. They don't listen. They don't want to learn. They all bandwagoners. They all follow each other. They don't go against the grain, or they don't find their path. They think everybody has one path under one leader, which is a dictatorship. And we live in a republic. The republic is not a dictatorship. The republic is, I have a freedom to say what the hell I want. I have a freedom to go where the hell I want. That's the freedom of movement. Now, the freedom of speech is, I have a right to not like you. I do have a right to say disrespectful things because it's a freedom of me expressing my thoughts. But just because the law says that I could do that, there's still a moral code. It's immoral to say, disrespectful things about people's race. That's immoral. But legally, I can. Legally, like I said, the girl at Alabama University that was saying nigger on Martin Luther King's birthday, she didn't get in trouble for saying it because we have a freedom of speech. So, in the public, a store can't put you out because you're black or you're Asian or whatever. They can't do that. They can't discriminate on you in public. But if you go to somebody's house and you go to their house and let's say they say, I don't like black people at my house or walking on my property. If that person calls the police and you tell them that I told this person I don't want them at my house and I don't want them on my property, and the police are going to make you leave because actually I have a right to discriminate on you when you come to my house. I have a right. I can say I don't want you at my house, and you can't protest in front of my house just because I won't let you in. And I can say I don't like, I don't like a certain type of person in my house. Or, for example, I don't like Asians at my house. Okay, well, I can discriminate in private at home, but not in public. So the civil rights movement just really basically says that in public places we can't be disrespected. But if you go to somebody's personal house, you can. They can say, I don't want your Asian ass on my property. And if you don't get off, I'm calling the police. And the police enforce it and make you leave. So that's an example of what I'm saying. You cannot discriminate in public, but you can do it in your private home. You don't have a right to call someone nigger at the job, and because that's a public place, but you can go in your home and say it all day long because it's your home. It's not a public place, and no one can protest you at your house when you're saying I don't like Asian people. So the civil rights just made sure you got opportunities in the business world and employment world. But when it comes to being home and in your own property, you can say whatever you want to say. That's the gist of freedom of speech. So, so I'm going to wrap this up. I would like somebody to tell me, where did they get the 400 years of slavery from? I think that came from the Bible because, when President Lincoln was in office and they were doing the Emancipation Proclamation and they started to see where slavery was coming from. Slavery was started in 1863 and then ended in 1865. That's not 400 years. Our math is off and our history is off. We're going to really need to get into Black history and figure out where is this coming from. Where is this coming from? But I do not believe that slavery was a choice because you had the government backing it. You had government officials, police officers, presidents that played a part in slavery, and they allowed it. They backed it. But when slavery was enforced, they first enforced it through the courts. They started actually really suing each other for actually human property, which is what they referred to Black people. They would go into court and sue someone for a slave, or hurting their slave, or something like that, or stealing their slave, or someone would go into court and claim 5 black people who were slaves, saying that they belonged to them. They were actually legally going in the courts doing this. And this is a book called Slavery in Virginia, because Virginia documented when slavery started, because it was a foreign thing. They had never seen anything like that. So they were writing and documenting it. And they were trying to stop it, but people were going in the courts actually filing court cases on slaves, on human property. You know what I'm saying? So slavery was not a choice. And I think that Kanye West just needs to keep studying. And, if he's venting or doing whatever he's doing, he has the right to say it. So this is all I have to say about Kanye West. Salome, be like, share, subscribe. Have a great day.